still talking, Andrew will pause at 2 or 3 points during the presentation for a Q&A, and then again at the end. So you'll all have an opportunity.
Everything cascades, Mark. It actually falls into very well what I presented to myself last night. I understand that a lot of people maybe haven't seen Zoom before or don't know the environment. So I've just put together 2 slides. Unfortunately, one of them's got my ugly mug on it, but it just gives you the profile of Zoom and what you would use it for within the session. So the bottom bar, the task bar, is where I'm identifying in the box there. We'll break that through a bit and identify some button presses that you can control. And also the top box is the view that you're going to see. So you can play around with that view. I'm not going to see it. You're only going to see it, but it can pop out to gallery view where you can see everybody on the line. You can minimize it. There's all those selectables there. So, but if we want to pay attention to that control panel or the taskbar below, I've just broken that down a bit to the user interface. So the participant controls. What you're going to see is a very similar panel to mine that I took the screenshot of, and that's just from left to right. You've got that mute area, and that's very important for the session. Please, when I present, keep yourself on mute, please. But you've got in that mute, you've got a drop down box, which is going to give you some clarity around what audio device you're using, your audio settings. So all settings available there. And the same goes on the stop video. That is going to be a hard disconnection of your video showing. Okay, and then the video settings themselves. The participant going to the right now, the participant setting is just everybody on the line. Okay, you can see that by the identification list of everybody on the line. And that's one area you can go in and direct chat to either all or one person privately. The chat, the firm chat that Mark talked about is just labeled as chat, and that's where you directly access a chat line to all. So you can chat, but it will broadcast to everybody, and it's not going to be hidden from view. But if you want to chat privately to any participant, especially your BDM on the line, they may be on the line today. If you've got any questions, and you can also put it to the B&D group themselves. This will all be captured by Mark at the end of the session, so we can go through anything that hasn't been addressed. And the last one is a little bit cute, but it's we have got non-verbal reactions there, so you can actually, if thumbs up, thumbs down, and a number of other reactions that you can give during the session to indicate what level of enthusiasm you've got for the session in play. So that leads us to the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention this morning. I'm just going to give you a little bit of relevance, because when you go to the start screen, you'll see that I haven't introduced myself. It's down in the bottom left-hand corner. My name's Andrew Jamieson. I'm the automation training manager for the B&D Group. So, and I fall into a bucket called the B&D Group Training Academy that facilitates training for both staff across the business and also now into the dealer land. But relevance, it's only a 30-second overview of myself, but it's relevant to understand who's presenting to you. 26 years now in this industry. I've got a rich history with Chamberlain, so Grifco and Merlin, stretching back 14 years in time there. I was with the original ATA, privately owned out of Melbourne, Simon and Jack Levinson, went there for 6 years. That's where I cut my teeth, and then turned back all the clock back to the start of 12, 13. I came back to the B&D Group and have been there ever since. So it just gives you a bit of an understanding of me as a presenter to you. In those roles, I've been service technician and also sales management in sales management for the balance of the time. So I've got a broad spectrum of learnings over the years, and that's why we present you the content in the way we do today. So the pack, it's dedicated to commercial products around the whole portfolio. It's a very short portfolio, so we can go through it in a very succinct way, but we're going to call out our unique positions in the market on key openers. And also we're going to be talking about the wider product range in the commercial space, especially the existing products of the rolling door openers that will wrap up our full commercial offer. But to get to that presentation, what I try to do is get people into the headspace of commercial and talk through some key terms that we all use, but we sometimes forget about the true knowledge of them. So I'm going to quickly whiz through these now. Now, hardwired, it comes up in most conversations, and pre-wired. Simply put, the hardwired is needing an A-grade electrician to put the hot wires directly into the opener, the motor, to drive it with that power supply. So that can be hardwired in 240 volt single phase or 415 volt three phase. So that's the hardwired. Pre-wired is just purely an appliance. So we have at the production level, pre-wired an appliance cord, and then it's just safely a plug and play to a power point. Single phase and three phase is very important to understand. The single phase supply is the domestic supply coming through New Zealand, so 230, 240. And then the step up in terms of torque, we always go through this 415 discussion, three phase, and that's three live conductors generating power to the three phase motor. Okay, so three live conductors, hence that 415 volts. That's typically due to the capabilities of the factories that have been built. So three phase is invariably on site. So therefore we develop three phase motor drives. So you can power directly off what's on site, but also the power available is a lot more stronger in three phase and therefore can do a wider capability of doors. The horsepower is definitely a positioning of the workable load capability of the openers. So we position them so we understand if the horsepower rating is a little bit low, it's going to have a lower area of door square coverage. So we need to offer a range of solutions in that space. Duty cycle will come up many times during the pack. It's the way we scale its suitability, the opener's suitability to go into a commercial space, that it is high cycle, meaning it's going to be used and worked. Its workload is going to be heavy or light. So we normally talk about light duty, duty cycle, or commercial use, and then heavy duty. The simple answer is we'll be talking about 60%, and that 60% is the on time. So in a time frame, 60% of the time the motor is turned on or it's active, and then the 40%, the balance, is the hold or the resting time of that given opener. So that's how we scale duty cycle, and it's important we understand that when positioning openers in the underground car park space or high activity space. Inverter, we're going to spend some quality time on the inverter because it sets us apart in the marketplace in one model in particular. The key call outs on the inverter, it's an inbuilt product on the 3110 opener. So what we use it for is a number of things. The big one is soft start, soft stop. So we can, it's basically a variable speed drive by the sheer fact that we can control the hertz coming through the supply, and we can speed up and slow down for bespoke operation, and we can also change the cycles individually. So especially when we're getting into commercial space, we need that ability to stop that slamming action at the fully open and fully closed, and we do that by having that soft start and fully adjustable speed. One of the other call outs, we actually change things up a little bit in the inverter control to maximize its performance. So we we provide it with a 240 volt supply through mains, so it's just an appliance for you as a dealer. So no need on this particular motor that we're going to talk about through the pack to have a commercial installer, A-grade electrician, because it's just an appliance. And through that 240 volt power cord, the inverter powers upwards to a 415 supply to power up a 3-phase motor that's built into the unit. So it's 240 ramping up to 3-phase to power up our unit. And this is pertaining to the 3110 and the 1505 sectional motor. But today we're going to wrap through the whole portfolio. So it's only a small portfolio, but very targeted in its application area. So we're going to step through that and talk through the 1505, the underground car park or heavy duty residential opener. We're going to talk through the existing product in the market in New Zealand, which is potentially what you've already known about. So we'll quickly whiz through the key standout differences between those two products in GDO 12, new to the market, and GDO 10, the existing workhorse in that continuous curtain rolling door space. We also offer the full deep dive on the commercial shutter openers. So it's very tight. It's only 3 openers, 2 to the New Zealand market, 3 coming soon. And I'll talk through that. So that will be the 3110, the hero of the range being the 240 volt inverter model. We'll talk about the Access Pro 3310, which is the hot wired or 3-phase contactor unit. And then soon to come into the market in New Zealand, a 1.5 horsepower variation of that one. Simply put, this is all that we need to know about the GDO 12. GDO 12 is relatively new to the marketplace, but designed over many years to sweet spot for the trade. And that sweet spot covers 3 main areas: the ability now to get into a tighter space with the best-in-class minimum side room at 35mm, edge of curtain, edge of bracket. We also bring to light the removable battery backup, so slide in at the back of the unit, or also removable and mounted to the wall because of the extension lead, or obviously no battery backup required, and then no side room taken up whatsoever. We also bring to light our first commercial opener here in the GDO 12 that's smartphone compatible. It has the transceiver built into the unit, so to get the smartphone connectivity, you only need to install the hub. So they're the main items of push through to highlight the performance level of the GDO 12. One thing that I will say is the design spokes on this unit allow for us to automate a wide selection of existing doors on the market, not only the B&D brand. Because of the shape, we're getting more surface contact area with that curved fork. And also the adapter is reaching in a long way at 108mm into the drum wheel area. So they're the main call outs for the GDO 12. And then if I said, we break this pack down so it's an easy view for key features and benefits. So I don't know the level of, positions on the line today. So whether you're in sales management, whether you're an installer, whether you're a service technician, whether you have frontline staff on the line. But these are the key features, and everything I talk about will have a table like this. The pack is available for future, but it basically outlines everything that I've just said and more in the feature, but lines it up against what it actually brings to the table. So what's in it for you, or what's in it for the consumer? Same again, GDO 12, GDO 10, sorry, we need to do that comparison because it does have a fit for purpose application area still in the market because of the advent of the Logic console. So the GDO 12, think of it as a very heavy duty residential unit because it does not have that expansion opportunity to go into commercial function on those commercial sites. But in terms of its performance, it's tried and tested in the marketplace. It fits a home. The battery backup is built into that unit, so it is heavy on side room. But in emergency services and the like in specification, that has become a thing where the inbuilt battery backup is that specified area. So depending on the marketplace, you've got the two choices now. The level of power is for dead weight lift is the same. The square meterage is the same. And we're talking through the same features roughly, but then once we get into the transmitter management, because of the logic console, we've got that 511, 512 transmitter capacity. So it's a big commercial opportunity. So once again, we break through these features and benefits. As I said, this pack will be available to you as a recorded or a pack, so you can share it with your team to understand. The big differences here are the advent of the logic console, and we break through a couple of key features, i.e. diagnostics being displayed on the unit, the onboard service counter, the large transmitter capacity, all of those things, because the GDO10 has that logic console. Now just reflect on this page and we'll have that first break. That is the reflective view of both products lined up side by side. So you really understand now where you would choose the GDO12 over the GDO10 and vice versa. I haven't listed all of them, but the key features are listed left and right. And then all those metrics that we need to look at is compared on the screen there between GDO10 and GDO12. But I am going to stop here. This is that break time that we just asked that you take yourself off mute. The first page or first section is complete, and we can just have a short session of any questions that come up. So I just ask respectively that you take yourself off mute, and if you've got any questions, this would be the time to just throw them into the room.
Sean.
Hey, Andrew, I just wonder if it might be good just to sort of delve into a bit more around the duty cycles and what the benefit is, obviously having, let's say 60% versus 100% duty cycle and things like that, just for the guys.
Yeah, we will cover it off in that commercial space because it's really pertaining to the Access Pro shutter motors, that 60%. But all I'm saying is if we've got some advanced commercial customers on the line, they'll understand that duty cycle in our known opposition, because we can talk, it's a safe space. We're not going to talk specifics, but if Grifco, as a known big supplier, a worldwide supplier and rich history, they scale their motors to light duty, 10% duty cycle, and then a high cycle unit, which is 30%. So our Access Pro offer is 60% out of the box. So every opener is 60% duty cycle. So that's got a lot of range and understanding if you talk about stock holding. Okay, so we're minimizing the ability and the confusion because one motor is 60%. So you don't have to wonder about which one is high cycle in range and which is standard cycle. It exceeds the performance just out of the box. Does that make a lot of sense to you, Lee?
Oh yeah, I was just trying to, just making sure that obviously everyone on the line that maybe doesn't dabble in that commercial space sort of, gets a bit of an understanding about it.
Yeah, yep. So once again, it will be covered. Not saying that it's not the right time, but it will be covered in that Access Pro shutter area, because once again, if we value that as a unique selling point, I'll hone in on it, and I do so in the latter part of the pack. So short break. Is there anything else that comes to mind that anyone wants to or is willing to ask right now? And if not, I'll just jump straight back into the pack. Okay. let's not have any dead air this morning. It's an awkward silence. So I'm going to continue on with the pack now. And we're going to bring to light that first unique selling point. And that's going to say that this is our key differentiator, that we've got a number of them in the Access Pro product range. And we're going to talk about the inverter. So we're talking now of the 1505 and the Access Pro 3110 inverter model. Both have the inverter built into the unit, so it brings to light three main areas of benefit, and one is that ramping up, ramping down, soft start, soft stop, which is going to reduce the stress on the opener, and it's going to make it more tailored to suit those commercial doors that are requiring less noise because of the slamming action, but also a more controlled action throughout the course of its movement in both open and close. That ties into that speed control, and we've got complete control with the inverter. It's not only just a pre-programmed soft start, soft stop. It's actually a fully adjustable by the installer speed control. And if you understand a little bit of what I said about the inverter's power flow, because it's an appliance being plugged into a power point, it means that we are going from 240 volt power point powering up a three-phase motor. So when we want to put battery backup on the unit, we only require a 240 volt battery backup. Okay, so in relevant terms, in terms of costings, in the New Zealand market, an example of this would be if you were to purchase a battery backup system for a 240 volt supply unit, it's going to cost Kiwi dollars $2,000. Okay, if you wanted a three-phase battery backup, it's going to cost you 10,000 Kiwi dollars. Okay, so that's the scale of the benefit to the installer dealer because you're not having to get that three-phase battery backup. So that's the unique selling point one. And now we're going to break through exactly the same type of slide through the whole course of the pack now, and we just break them into the same areas of information. So that's an excerpt on the left-hand side from the brochure. Okay, it's front side a bit of features of the product, back side is the technical spec, and I've just summarized that technical spec in the middle of the page on that table. So you've got the inverter control, I'm calling it out, it's 240 to a three-phase with an inverter. It's half horsepower. Maximum door travel on the 1505 is 5.5, and we break that down into two rail supply opportunities, 3.5 metre high and 5.5 metre high. It's only available in steel chain because we need that high tensile strength through the chain to provide that performance level we need. The overall headroom is 135. It's very important we understand that from a technical level to patch the job in at building level, okay, on a tilt slab job. So 135 is overall. And those key dimensions are all widely available on the brochure, embedded on the back of the brochure itself. We also must realise that the sectional motor does both commercial and residential. When a residential motor does not or exceeds its capability, that 1505 plays in that space. So that's pertaining to the P7 range of doors and any bespoke build that goes over that 235 kilo for domestic doors, because as you can see, it plays into a very big space of high cycle and high lifting capability. But once again, you'll see the same slide. We're talking about what it brings to the table. The duty cycle on this isn't identified, but it's 30%, so it's suitable for underground car park high cycle. It's got the full logic console control, so we're bringing to light the same opportunities to understand for it's tailored to the commercial site with those variable inputs available, and we've got that onboard service counter and large capacity of the transmitters that is required. And I will call out the starting point of all logic console conversations should be we have that PG3 programmer, the diagnostic tool, that's also compatible across all commercial products as well as residential. So we've got a micro management of those transmitters, not only on board, but also through the PG3 programmer. So it's very important once we start getting into scheduled service conversation and lifting in professionalism, on-site attention to the service call and the installation, where a diagnostic tool brings that level up. It also gives the installers a wider view of the door and opener working in conjunction with one another. So here on this side, we just start talking about the order code conventions to understand what we mean when we say a particular part number. So in series, we've got the series name. So that's the first point, the 3. The second digit becomes that supply, whether it's the 240 volt AC unit being talked about in the inverter model, or the 3-phase unit, the 415 hardwired with the contactors. So they're the second digit there. And then the last 2 digits are the power rating. We don't play in half horsepower invariably in the Access Pro, especially in the New Zealand market. We jump straight into the 1 horse to cover more job applications. So that's 10. So that's where that lays out on the order code. And then the 15, soon to be launched into the New Zealand market, is 1.5 horsepower when talking about that 3-phase hot wired unit. Outright unique selling point number 2, and this can't be underplayed. This is the universal handedness of our units. So 1 unit is left and right out of the box. So no need for confusion, no need for lost service calls where left hand is specified, and then once get to the job, a right hand is actually required, which would potentially mean a return to base to get the right-handed unit, whereas the B&D Group solution is a removable shaft and timing assembly. So it's 1 unit, left or right-hand fitment. Okay, quick to install because of that area that I've just talked about, but it's also allowing for no confusion in stock holdings and less cost outlay because 1 unit is taking the place of 2 units in our known opposition that we're playing against in the marketplace. I hope you understand that one. That's the inverter's a big one, and this is almost as big as the inverter. Universal handedness, and that runs through all 3 openers, so the inverter model and the hardwired 3-phase contactor units. Magnetic limits, we introduced this in GDO 10 many years ago, so we know that the performance is the way we want, which is invariably stopping any chance whatsoever that there is limit drift on the settings of the limits. So fully open, fully close at that positioning system, it will not drift over time. And it's the way it's been set up with that magnetic limit. It stops and allows for, even if there's a chance of dust ingression or fine particles, that the limit system is intact. Also brings the ability for us to do the limits from the ground at those control areas. So the manual console, which we'll talk about later, and also that logic console set. So really reliable. It's a piece of the storyline of reliable operation every time. To the point on the last break, that 60%, it is unique to us because it's covering a wider application area with 1 unit. Okay, we're not needing that secondary range of high cycle in our model range. It's just 1 unit is high cycle no matter what. Okay, so 60% is our benchmark. And what we can tell you in design, it's done through the advent of the onboard breathers. Okay, so they're dissipating the heat buildup in high cycle activity to ensure that there is no breakage of seals within the gearbox and hence leaking gearbox, which would be a fundamental failure. So the advent of the onboard breathers allows us to get up to this 60% duty cycle, but it also maintains longevity in that underground car park space or high cycle activity space. So I don't know where to put this one. I still almost put this up at the top of the three. They're almost the same in terms of their importance to understand, because it makes a relevance to why we just have a very tight range of commercial offers, but a very feature-packed, simplified view of their performance with these outright unique selling points. And then the integrated logic control. We need to understand a little bit of the marketplace to understand why we call it our outright unique selling point, the logic console, because you would say, well, if you've known about our product range through the GDO 10, it's already in the marketplace. Why is it unique? It's unique in the commercial space because in our known opposition, if you want the features available on this one solution, you need to go upstairs and put an expansion board to provide those functionalities, okay? So it means a one solution down the wall and is capable of expanding to anything that's required on that commercial site, because this has been future built for 20 years of commercial operation. Okay, so it gives you a wider understanding of the menus. So it's got diagnostics available. As simply put, it's just an up, down, stop station, but it's just way beyond that. For those on the line that are technical, it has an onboard 24-hour time clock. So that's an additional feature that would need to be wired in and purchased in our known opposition area, whereas it's supplied as standard because it's built in to that unit. So that's that open in the morning, close at night arrangements, and fully programmable. So 7 in the morning, i.e. close at 5:30, and then sequentially through those 7-day periods. So that's all fully programmable at that control station. So what I'm saying in the overall layout of the integrated logic control is that it's a simplified one solution, and we have that solution available, fully interchangeable between Access Pro 3110, the GDO 10, as we know, and the 3-phase contactor unit in 3-phase 1 horse, and soon to be that other one 3-phase 1.5 into the New Zealand market. Once again, I can't reinforce enough, the PG3 programmer is fully compatible. So we're really stepping into a commercial space that is needing management for generating more revenue for you as the dealers involved, and understand that there is a potential opportunity to step into this, but stepping into it uncharted can lead to possible callbacks. So what we encourage everybody to understand is that because there's multiple things going on a commercial site, if we embrace the PG3 programmer and utilize the menu management system on the Logic console, we start building up a very wide view on the commercial site to diagnose, to manage the expectations of that commercial customer, and obviously set up a very professional scheduled servicing within those businesses to ensure that you've got a revenue stream coming through, not only just the initial installation. And if we step through once again, model by model, we're going to talk about the hero of the range because it is that special. We have the inverter with all of those features I've outlined. We're talking about the specs in the center. So we're saying it's the inverter model, 1 horsepower, okay, in an appliance. The square meterage is 36 square, 28 with wind lock. It's got the soft start, it's got the inverter, it is plug and play, and it has that 511 transmitter management in that Logic control if purchased that way. One thing that I'll start to talk about here is the lateral use of the product. Because of the bolt pattern in all of the Access Pro shutter motors is identical to the Grifco footprint. It means that we can swap out any Grifco product with Access Pro if that opportunity arises in the marketplace based on these features that I've outlined. So we can go back all the way to the original design of Grifco and then up to the current range with the footprint on the brackets being exactly the same. So really good product here. It is a sweet spot. And to give you a sideline story, it's as simple as getting the money quickly after the installation. So very quick turnaround of settlement, and also easy and fast to install if you don't constantly or currently do any commercial work, because it's just an appliance. You just need a 240 volt power point. So if you can mount the unit effectively to the shutter, power it up with an extension lead, even if power isn't going to be hot wired, you can effectively set up, commission, and ask for that money on the spot, because there's no wait time for a A-grade electrician to come in and hot wire and fully commission that unit. So huge benefits to go into the dealer market to grow a new stack of revenue, because you're getting into the commercial market with a domestic appliance in theory, as opposed to a commercial A-grade electrician expectation, which is heavy in labour costs and also wait times to get them to commission. Features and benefits, once again, can't underdo it. Inverter control, universal handed operation, 60% duty cycle, and all those huge benefits that I've talked about through the Logic console, the introduction of the Logic console. Same again in 3-phase. So 3-phase in the range that we launched into the marketplace in New Zealand is 3-phase 1 horse, the contactor unit. So that's the equivalent of the known opposition Grifco ML5103. So it's a direct replacement. Performance ratings you'll see on the screen, 1 horsepower. It's 3-phase delta, so it's a hot wiring of 3-phase directly to the unit by an A-grade electrician. The next one to land into the New Zealand market will be the 1.5, and that will be capable of doing 50 square. Okay, so up to 1.5, 50 square. And then once again, it needs hard wiring by a commercial electrician. It doesn't have soft start, soft stop, because it does not have the inverter on board. That plays into that high volume space, because 1 horse 3-phase is invariably what will cover most doors in a commercial space. And if the 3-phase power is already set up at the specification level and the build stage, that's the unit to use, because it's going to be reverse engineering to get a 240 volt power point set 1 meter away from the unit in the opening after the build's already done. Okay, so it fits a sweet spot, and the range option is very tight, but it covers that, as I said, 36 square meter door and also 50 square meter door. Benefits again. Okay, we've got the same benefits other than the soft start, soft stop, because the platform is identical. That's the beauty of the product. What you see on one motor is invariably the design of the other motor. The interchangeable controls is another area of consistency, so you're not going to see anything change throughout the range in terms of what controls you can offer. So I'm going to use this opportunity to slow down and come to a stop again. This is where we can just look at the kitting of the product in the marketplace. In New Zealand, this is the way we've configured the supply. So you're going to see the drive unit, the drive chain, the drive sprocket, all provided in the kit. And then you need to select which control you want per sale. So those options will be laid out in the next segment of the training, and they will be pertaining to the manual console, the Logic console, and the Logic Console kit. So I'd ask that we take that hard break now. So just respectively take yourself off mute if you see fit to throw any little gems into the room. Maybe I haven't uncovered all the data so far. So happy to knock any questions down right now.
Andrew,
hello.
Have you found issues with the Access Pro 3110 with power fluctuations? I've had several over the years that just haven't been able to handle the power power fluctuations.
Well, all I can say there is that some things like power we can't control. Certain things we can over the time and manage what happens at the firmware level. If you know the ATA experience or the B&D Group automation experience, we force firmware changes through as we see improvements in design.
Yeah.
And we've put many firmware updates through, and I can't talk for your experience in terms of the timeline of when you experience that problem. I'm directly linked up to the quality team in terms of I see the failure rate every week, every month by reports, and we talk about these things. That hasn't come up in any of my reports, so I can only talk, realistically from what I see. But it's not saying it's not happening. If it's something that needs to be, I would use this time, Mark Rippon, to just capture that as a follow through to the team on the line. But I'll speak to the engineering and the service division and say, this is a concern. What's your response? And then I can share that as a group email to everyone on the line. And that will be done with any sort of feedback. But really good question, because I can't give you a firm answer on it.
Yeah, because I've had several over time, and I don't know, probably about 5 or 6, I think, they've blown transformers on the Access Pro, and obviously different sites, a couple on one site. But I've never actually had anything with GRIFCO over the years, so it's sort of something that may need to be, unless it's something in the inverter or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I take it on board as valid feedback. I mean, I was in GRIFCO, right? So I can tell you that your experience is unique because I was there during Maestro. Yeah, and I can tell you that there's some things that happened in the marketplace that almost got to a class action against GRIFCO and Chamberlain because of the quality level. So over the time, both manufacturers being B&D Group and Chamberlain, are always striving for quality improvements. And we're like GRIFCO in this space, but we've got a preoccupation with it now because we report directly to the Dulux Group, right? We must report our failure rate numbers, and we can't lie. Right. So we can talk about this in other training sessions. I'm just starting this conversation with you all that this is a transparent training program. Okay. So we're just open book in a lot of spaces. So happy to talk about anything else that's been captured by Mark and will be addressed. Great.
So Andrew, a question for me just quickly. So given that the all those commercial units in the market connect to the logic controller and then onto the PG3 programmer, why don't our competition have a setup like that with a diagnostics tool which runs directly between the two?
Oh, look, I think it's what is it, appetite. I can only talk from my experience and over the years of employment there, but also, understanding what's happening for them now. It wasn't really something that they saw as a major need, whereas we design upwards. We're a local design team and we design for the Australian requirements, and it became our point of difference as well, that we know a lot more about our product, and the advent of the firmware, so launching new firmware, is recognizing that we're micromanaging everything in design to say, if we've fixed something, we'll tell you through a firmware upgrade, or if we've improved on something, we will. But in terms of the known opposition, Grifco, I think it's about appetite, and worldwide they don't have one either, even in the North American market. So maybe it might happen, but I can tell you we've got a rich history of doing this, and we definitely know automation.
Andrew, the sectional motor.
Yes.
Yeah, what weight of door can that?
I put subjective. It's very hard to weigh. It's a really good question. I'll have to put that as a net as well. My sales teams across Australia and New Zealand are constantly at me. But you notice how there's no dead weight on shutter motors either? It's because we're very hard to quantify that dead weight. I know that I've just been doing a competitive comparison in some of these commercial openers, and I know that some manufacturers will start to list that. It just means that more testing needs to be done to drill down on that figure, because that figure is going to be huge, right? You know that it's going to be huge, but the amount of testing we do to quantify, just loading it up on a jig and just putting plates upon plates upon plates, it just gets down to the testing regime. And I say that we target our testing to do the lifetime testing primarily to validate the warranty, and sustainability testing to validate any changes in the design that could possibly affect the performance.
Yeah, but surely we can have some definition of huge.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll ask Mark to capture that. I'm not trying to deflect the question. I just don't have the answer to it. And if I put it to you, a figure, I would be guessing, because I don't have that from engineering.
With our sales we've used it on a 300 kg sectional door.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting quite a bit bigger than that.
Yeah, I'm saying that that's probably being conservative, but
Yeah.
I'll get that figure. I'll search and dig until I get that figure, and I'll just put it out as a response to the team on the line.
Yeah, that's really good.
Maybe pertinent to only one or two, but you may also have everyone on the line have that information, because you never know at what stage that information could be used in the market. Yeah, so great. They're really good questions, guys, and good that you not catch me out. But if as I said, it's transparent. If I don't know something, and we need to respond, we will.
Andrew, just on this industrial shutters with all the kits and stuff there.
Yes.
One thing I don't see on there is the mounting plates.
Yeah, so they're optioned, obviously, at the back of the book, because we've chosen in a supply, and this we can obviously re-kit to suit the New Zealand market through the Duffett's alignment. But in Australia, we recognise that we never know when the retrofit market's going to be used. So this opener range is going to be going onto a manual door, replacing existing equipment, or brand new door and opener. So therefore we take the punt that the installer is the guy and the business owner is the guy to make that choice himself. So we put it at the end as an accessory.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, once again, we've got a different set of people on the line, obviously honed in on the commercial space, which I really appreciate. This is one of my little loves, is the commercial opener space. So I can talk for hours on it, but I won't. I'd use this time to fly back into the content and push through to the end, so we can have a quality conversation about the overall pack. So as I said, this is the way it's configured on the screen, the kitting information. And if we were to step into the rest of the pack, exactly what we were just talking about, the mounting accessories are what they are. So we provide that standard flag bracket, which is that Grifco footprint, and the commercial angle. And then the people may understand this on the line. We must recognise that we've also got Grifco in the market that goes back potentially 100 years of automation and product in the marketplace. So that adapter kit that you see 92520 is taking into account the MD58 style of Grifco, the very early range. So we've got an ability to swap out all of the range in the Grifco for one. Okay. And then we're calling out the solution for hauling chain is an accessory, and we don't supply it into the New Zealand market at this stage. So that solution will be provided from the Duffet division. This is the logic control area. It's giving you just the summary view. So we've got a manual console, a premium manual console, and I'll step through some features of that. We've got the logic console and the logic console kit. Okay. In terms of where to use, there's a slide that I've developed about the questions that you would ask to arrive at which one would you be using. But to give you a quick summary, you've got the manual console, which is the just the up, down, stop station. It's premium because it's next level up to the known opposition C10A, because it's got a full lockable control panel and various mode selectors and a terminal block expansion within to allow for connectivity to status requirements on a commercial site. So whether that's alarms, whether that's access systems, whether that's anything that would need either status or even expansion to key switches, standard egress type devices, both entry and exit, can be wired from this point as well. Then we talk about the logic console. I can't step through enough of the features, but the short answer is that it answers all wiring requirements into it from the commercial requirement stage. So these are listed a little bit there on the screen. So we're providing that 24-hour time clock. We're allowing for 511, 512 transmitters to be managed through that. And we're also allowing for both wired and wireless, the B&D Group wireless beams to go into that. Okay, so a range of photo beam solutions. And then the logic console kit is the ready solution for remote control. So the kit comes out with the wired beams, the Easy Beam kit, and 2 PTX5 V2 transmitters. And in terms of the function, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's quite tech, but all I'm suggesting is that this is built for that light version of a logic console. It doesn't bring to light the ability to wire in photo beams, that's a no, or transmitters to control this, because there's no receiver inside the unit, but it is a premium functioning manual console. Because of the lock face and because of the fully programmable states, you can throw it in, and the expansion to other accessories and other relays. I've called out there that we even supply a little relay module. So that can be used in conjunction to control things like dock levelers and commercial requirement with the use of this additional relay. And if you want to go really deep, there's the selection chart that understands what we're talking about when we start talking about outputs, auxiliary inputs, what happens when the lock face is turned to run or lock. There's so many different adjustment areas, but the bottom line is that it allows for a fully integration with key switches, push buttons, emergency stops, as I said, monitoring devices, because you'll see the terminal block layout there. We've got individual inputs that relate to those functions that we need, and also relay inputs there off the separate coils, right? It's a really good call out as well. You'll see that this is programmer compatible, because that's the programmer port inside the unit. So fully integrated with that diagnostic tool as well. There's those questions I was just talking about. And this is for everyone on the line. It can be shipped around. It can be managed a little bit different. It could be just a checklist for understanding at the front line and the order processing area within your businesses. But it's trying to understand the type of things that you would need to know, because the commercial site is rife with a lot of things that you don't know. So you need to ask a lot of questions, and those questions are laid out on those bullet points. So what type of function is the customer expecting? Okay, so that needs to be detailed. What type of additional control devices need to be wired into the commercial opener? That needs to be detailed. Do we need transmitters? Okay, straight away we know that, okay, if you need transmitters, you need a logic console. If you need photo beams, you need a logic console. You require commercial enclosure. And this is another product that's coming to the market, soon to be launched, and it's a lockbox version, specified box, which gives a more robust design for that logic console to be housed in. Okay, so if you require that, that's the question you asked. Do you require a commercial enclosure? So we'll talk through these individually now to understand a lot more about the logic console, because it is that important in the overall scheme of things. It is that one solution, okay? That one solution, go to point all the way down to point 2, it's dealing with all those demanding needs on that commercial site. So it will interface with key switches, swipe cards, proximity readers, loop detectors, alarm and monitoring systems, dock leveling systems, and the most important one is the fire input. Okay, it allows for full integration with fire, which means that if an alarm system needs to immediately shut the door when fire is indicated, we understand that at the logic console. Or if the door needs to immediately go open, and it stays open because that unit's been left active by the alarm system, right? So it cannot come down no matter what in that, that fire state, okay? So it's very important to understand that invariably with the logic console, the answer is yes. I have not come across something that could not be configured to a logic console. As to whether we need additional relay to manage it, there's certain very granular features on a commercial site that would need a potential relay module. But as I said, we've got that available through the use of the accessories. It's listed in the accessories as that additional relay module. So very, very powerful unit, but all in one down at the wall, readily available for expansion at any time. The Logic Console Kit is bringing to light all of those things that I've just talked about, as well as the 24-hour time clock built in, as well as things like pedestrian access, so lifting the shutter just at small degree because we can micromanage the limits. And then the PG3 programmer, so everything's the same because it's the same logic, and then we're just throwing in that set of photo beams and 2 transmitters to provide that full access kit. And this is the wider view now on those accessories that I've just covered off. And what we didn't cover is the lateral use of the product. Admittedly, it's not as widely used now, and that's the rolling door conversion kit. And that's using an Access Pro style opener, so invariably the inverter model, and then converting that back with a kit to provide a rolling door, a continuous rolling door solution. So going on to a rolling door now. So we provide a reinforcing plate to make sure that if it is a nylon or a plastic drum wheel, that it's reinforced to stop the drift of the main sprocket. And then the flag bracket, the angle bracket, and the hardware all in one kit, so we can convert the shutter motor with the direct output shaft and the sprocket up to driving a continuous curtain rolling door. So that's available. And if you're in that Grifco world at the moment, that is a direct supply replacement or comparable product to the RKML kit in the Grifco world. The third-party conversion kit, as I said, that takes into account the very early Grifcos. Okay, so covering that MD58 range of Grifco openers, and the mounting bracket kit is that standard kit for all of these Access Pro motors that I've been talking about. Just the call out for the coming soon. That's the expanded view of the lockbox. We'll get that into the market on demand, but that's for specification. So some commercial sites, especially retail, supermarkets and the like, major retail distribution, they will specify this type of control box, and that just provides a commercial feeling of the control. So a lockbox. It gives you that up, down and stop, the emergency stop in the center there, and we can isolate the control to be off, auto and manual. But I'm not going to continue to beat the drum about the Logic console because we've covered this off in detail now. But all I'm saying is because that is the product inside the box, all of those features are still available. What we also bring to light there is a wider wiring port. So we've got a big, wide terminal block. So we just know that in certain circumstances, there's going to be a lot of wiring. So bigger conductor size for the wiring and also lots more wiring coming through. So we give the installers a wider view and a better entry hole into wiring in those key accessories that they need on that job. So that's the coming soon area. That's a lockbox. It will come into the New Zealand market shortly. And we've come to the end. The trade references is really just the end of the pack to say we've got your back. We have a series of support tools available. So there's technical guides, both on the 3110 and the 33 range. We have a full range of brochures available, installation guides that will take you through granular of the full installation of those openers involved. And we can also talk about what wasn't listed in the pack in the data sheets by just having those quick features on the left hand side of the data sheet, and on the right hand side is those specifications, and they get down to very granular view of the product in a quick glance. So it really a specification sheet to ensure that we get it specified correctly when we're patching it into the job prior to sale and prior to quote. So I thank you all very much for this opportunity to talk and offer an information session, but we do come to a questions and answers point of the presentation where I'd ask you once again to just respectively take yourself off mute. I would ask that everybody get involved now because we have an opportunity to really drill down on anything that I haven't presented today.
Any questions, Alison? No.
So guys, just something from me. Obviously, Andrew is fast becoming a very valuable resource for B&D New Zealand, and especially with his track record in the commercial space. We've got now. I mean, the previous slide showed some brochure resource, but Andrew is a fantastic resource for us to tap into. So please, if you need to, feel free to reach out to him or via your BDM, or even directly if it's valid, just to get the information that you need. We're very lucky, as I said, to have someone that's got not so much just an overview of the ATA, but also of our competitors. So that's a fantastic space to be in.
And I don't want to harp. It was a really good break and bringing this up, Mark. But I'll just reinforce one thing. This is transparency. Okay, we want to engage with you on a different level with the training that we're offering. We're asking for more and more engagement. These are only the first 2 sessions, but there's going to be more modules available. So we'll step through potentially 5 product categories that will cover off things like the residential range that's in the market in New Zealand, the warranties, a very detailed review on the PG3 and how to use that product and get the benefits for the business. So we're just starting a series of events here. Anything else that comes to light. I know there's other questions. Some people just find it a little bit awkward to bring up in front of their peers, but be rest assured, I understand that. I've been in this environment for enough time to know that if you do have a question, don't hesitate to pop it, or if you haven't already, on the chat, the private chat, to Mark Rippon or Tim Dalziel or anyone within the B&D, either the Alliance company in Duffet or also the B&D Group employees, because they're the ones on the ground every day, and they're the ones that will be able to give you local information and timely information.
So Andrew, are you the expert on commercial products only, or domestic, residential, smartphone kits, everything?
I think my level of understanding of everything would say that I'll be training you on everything. And I can't say I've got gates. Gates are I cut my teeth on gates in ATA when it was a long time ago. But yes, that's the answer. I don't want to put any tickets on myself, because you'll uncover my flaws along this journey. But I have built up a fair amount of information over the years.
Oh, that's good to know.
One of the things that came up yesterday in our group, and it's probably valid for this environment too, is that some people are working out where it is they want to play in the commercial space, whether it's for going all the way into the doors and automation, or just supplying automation, or even just the ability to understand what's involved and then refer that on to a trusted partnership. And I guess Tim's on the line today as that particular person. But there is some various levels that people will consider when deciding at what point are they going to play in the commercial space. So that's where, Tim, that's where you're the expert in your field.
Yeah, tremendous. Thank you. Hey, look, in terms of that, Matt, those of you who know me know I'm not an expert in the technical stuff, but the reality is, just like with B&D, I think I certainly enjoyed my time with B&D and felt that, and again, this is probably the wrong audience, but I thought, we were reasonably. But the reason that we were able to achieve there was the people around and the people in the organisation. That's what I found with Duffet as well. So I know a number of you already have utilised the Duffet product and the expertise within the business. And my comfort around technical support and the like, and the growing of your commercial business, is based around the people I'm working with. And I guess that's from a roller shutter as well as the other products that Duffet do. But that's the comfort that I get in terms of product, but also the reason that I'm really excited about partnering with B&D from an ATA perspective. We've just listened to Gemmo go through this, and he's had the ability to, I think, probably notch up my technical prowess in an hour and a half by a millionfold. So I think the two of us together is the real key in terms of helping those who already know stuff, but also helping those who are just starting to come into the commercial side of the business. Yeah. So from my perspective, my sales pitch is, if you're interested, you see the advantage of the ATA product, let me show you the advantage of working with ATA and Duffet. So just contact me, and I'll certainly get the right resource so that we can do something pretty good together.
The other piece is because we've managed to form an alliance, and we're expecting to get some good volume from that alliance, that we have managed to secure some pretty good pricing through ATA for this product. So everyone that's attending the training and has completed the webinar will get a discount code to use against Duffet purchases. And we're not saying we're going to limit that to just Duffet purchases, but that is the intent. But there is some pretty sharp pricing to be used in the commercial space. So that will be added to your web order entry drop down, and the price list will show a discount code.
Great. I think this is a really good partnership opportunity, and throwing out an incentive right off the bat. I didn't expect to be involved with that, but the level of engagement we're expecting and offering. One thing I'll just do is a quick summary now. I did this in the previous session. Only takes 2 minutes to really hone in on. But over the pack, we've uncovered some unique selling points in the marketplace within the Access Pro range, and those need to be called out specifically. So we've talked about the inverter. I can't stop raving about that. It makes it a possible entrance for you as a new start into commercial because it's an appliance. The second one is the universal handedness. Once again, a simple solution. No misunderstandings, no missed opportunities to go to sites multiple times where you've just got one unit that will left and right out of the box, right? Left and right fitment. The other one, once again, is the use of the duty cycle specification. That be rest assured, this is going to do the high cycle in one unit. Okay, that's the 3110 and the 3300 series. And all the rest of it gets down to the tech, the peace of mind that that Logic console and the combination of the manual console as an option and then the Logic console provides that complete solution rather than an additional product being required and then additional circuit boards required to achieve that end. It's one solution out of the box. So I would thank everybody for attending today. I know that we're probably at about 8 minutes before we finish, but if there's no other questions, I think I'd just like to thank everybody for attending. It's a bit of a shock sometimes to come into a Zoom session and deal with content for such a stretch of time, being a good full hour and a half. But I thank you for your attention and hope you see that this is just the start of our engagement within the B&D dealer group across the North and South Island through the B&D Group Training Academy. So we'll say goodbye to now for the session, and we'll see you again when we offer another module and another different type of content from the B&D Group Training Academy. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, fellas.
See ya.
Okay.
What's the next move? Stop.
How do we get out of this?
We'll be looking to hang
Down
up
the bottom
down
right.
the right-hand side.
To the pub.
Oh, there we go.
Catch you later, Brian.
See you later.
Hello, guys. See you, boys.
Bye.
Sure. Thanks, Gerald. You keep very quiet today, Grant. Good to catch up.
I don't know. I've never done this. Can you
There
hear
you
me?
go.
Good,
You're
good
into
work,
it, mate. You
good
sit
work,
down.
Jay. You did well.
I think I picked my photo up, mate. One crash course from Hemi 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's good.
Well played.
All right.
Hey, boys. See you in Queenstown for conference.
Sure. Good work.
Okay.
So your bottom right-hand corner is your
Leave. In bright red, leave. So.
See ya. You're on mute, Gerald.